How's everybody out there doing? This is Duane Fletcher with Fletcher Community Media. Um, some of you may know me by some of the books that I write and the action novels that I talk about. If you go to blurb.com, you can see some of the stuff that I have out here. Well, let's see here. You can see some of the stuff that I have out here. My books are found on blurb.com under the name Duane Fletcher, DuaneFletcher. Okay. This is actually a really good book. The Black Hand Tool, Child in the Storm. This is the latest one that I just got through right now a couple of months ago. But this is a really good book. Um, if you look on here, I don't know if y'all can see that, but basically I have a lot of different books out. There you go. You can scroll it. And these are really good action novels, all the materials, stuff that's coming out of Florida and stuff like that. But if you get a chance to go on blurb.com and you will basically, be able to read the books. There's a free preview out right now because I'm trying to talk to some publishers. I'm trying to talk to some publishers right now. So there's a free preview out because the website is unlocked for the publishers. So if you get a chance to check out the book. All right, now, first thing I want to talk about is the hurricane destruction. Let's see, hurricane destruction in Florida. Okay, well, basically, there was Florida just got hit with two hurricanes back to back. You know, the devastation was wicked. There's really bad devastation. Um, a lot of homes were destroyed. There were dozens and dozens of tornadoes between the two hurricanes hitting back to back. One came from There's some more destruction and damage and stuff here. But one of the hurricanes came from out of the Gulf. Went straight up from down by Cuba and Jamaica and came up into Florida. And I think that was Hurricane Helene. Basically, it hit Tallahassee area here, and there was a lot of destruction. Um, the second hurricane did something very interesting because they were saying that no one had seen anything like this in like 140 years. It hit just south of Tampa, straight on from the Gulf, where basically I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Let's see, Hurricane Milton path. Okay, so let's see. Hurricane Milton did something very strange. Um, I don't know if you can see this here, but okay, so Hurricane Milton was actually Pacific storm. Okay, and what it did was it stopped here on the west coast of Mexico, southwest Mexico. It stopped and it basically went overland. It was called Investment 11, I believe it was, like when the storms start to mix and get together, when the cold, with the wet, uh, the storm conditions and cold air and warm seawater start to mix violently. I think they call it like investment. So investment 11 actually started in the Pacific. And what it did was it jumped over the top of southern Mexico and formed again in the Gulf. And they renamed it from Investment 11 to Hurricane Milton. And this one hit the Tampa Bay area straight on. And they were saying that they had never seen anything like this in like 100 and something years. But it was weird that it started off as a Pacific. Most Pacific storms go on to hit the coast of China and places like that. It goes all the way over, but this one jumped over and started again in the Gulf. It was very interesting. So pray for us down here in Florida. I want to shout out to our first responders, FPL, JEA. They, from here in the Jacksonville area, they basically went to all of these other counties that were hit really hard. First Helene hit the Tallahassee area really hard, and then uh, Hurricane Milton hit the Tampa and Orlando area really hard. But shout out to our first responders, JEA and FPL. They're trying out now, still trying to restore the power and stuff like that. Jacksonville didn't get hit that bad by by Milton, but Helene did a lot of wind damage and stuff like that. So let's pray for people in Florida that they get past it. Speaking of the hurricane, um, there's a new argument between, let's see, Harris versus DeSantis argument. So basically, what's going on with this is Kamala Harris called Governor DeSantis and to ask to see if he needed any help regarding the storm and stuff like that. And he was offended because it's like she's not the president yet, and so he was offended, and he kind of sounded like his feelings was hurt, because they have a little feud going back and forth where a lot of people in Florida thought that somebody stole the election from Trump. And one of those people, basically who had to end up denouncing it was Governor DeSantis, where they asked him, do you still think somebody stole the election from Trump? And eventually he had to finally, when confronted with the question, he said no. So but yet and still, the way that they're arguing back and forth, especially right now, it kind of seems that way. That that's how it started. Because at first, I think it was Hurricane Eileen or Hurricane Irene a couple of years ago. DeSantis, he was he was kind of upset, and he told President Biden that he could come to Florida to review the storm damage, but he couldn't bring any security with him. Or he told him if he brought too much security, it would be problematic and all of this kind of stuff like that. Kind of spicy language, considering that you're angry with each other about a stolen election, and which eventually, of course, DeSantis had to say, well, no, nobody stole the election. Of course, we know that now. No one stole the election. So, um, but if you would like to, and the thing was that I want to say this, I want to make sure I make this point. Um, Governor DeSantis made some comments about Mrs. Harris, Vice President Harris, playing with people's lives and politicizing the storm and things like that. However, it appears to me, let's see, Governor DeSantis sends migrants to Camilla Harris' home. It appears to me that Governor DeSantis has like a bad memory, because this is what people were saying about him until 5 days ago when the storm hit. Basically, people were saying this about Governor DeSantis because he went to Texas and loaded up. He went to Texas and loaded up 2 busloads of migrants, and he sent these 2 busloads of migrants. Their people were from Venezuela and Cuba, and different places like that, and they basically you know perched and sat outside Kamala Harris's home in Washington. Now, this is something, a really big issue in Washington, D.C., that they said about DeSantis, that he was playing with people's lives, 'cause basically now he's giving them $1 billion lawsuit. That basically and there was like reports of people saying that he went through the crowd and handpicked some of these people for effect. He went through the crowd and handpicked these people for effect, and then had them loaded onto the bus, and the bus was sent there. Now, since then, I personally I believe he should have been charged with a crime for doing that. And now they're telling them that they can't sue Governor DeSantis personally. Um, However, they can sue the company, the bus company that sent them there, that rode them there. But this isn't the first time he did it. He did it to Martha's Vineyard too. He sent migrants on a plane to Martha's Vineyard. So, if I was Biden, I would have put my foot down. I would be like, look, go back to Florida. you should not be in Texas doing this kind of stuff. Period. And as far as the lawsuit goes, I believe some of the sheriff departments in Texas has filed a lawsuit against DeSantis, um, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, Also, I believe that the people who were the migrants have basically had to revamp their lawsuit because the first judge that heard the case, they let DeSantis go. But, he's a military lawyer. He was a military lawyer for a long time. He's what they call a JAG. They call the military lawyers called a JAG, rather Navy or Air Force. So he was a JAG for a number of years. Pretty much the lion's share of his career. So apparently, some of the judges who heard the case, they let DeSantis go, and they told him that they could not file a lawsuit against him. However, they revamped it, and they whatever the judge was nitpicking about, whether they forgot to dot an I or cross a T or something like that, they revamped their lawsuit, and they're suing him again anyway. I think they refiled it in July. They refiled the lawsuit against DeSantis in July. But this is sad that this kind of stuff is going on. But up until 5 days ago, that's one of the buses there. I think he sent two bus loads to Miss Camilla Harris' house. Up until 5 days ago, this is what they were saying about DeSantis, that DeSantis was being ridiculous with other people's lives and stuff like that. And like I said, let's see, here they are, and there's another good picture of them here in Martha's Vineyard. He sent a plane load of them to Martha's Vineyard too. So he did this twice, and like I said, if I was Biden, I would have told him, look, you get out of Texas and go back to Florida and do your own state. Pay attention to what's going on in your own state, and stop, doing stuff like you shouldn't be in Texas doing stuff like that because you're being ridiculous with these people's lives. Well, he's basically giving them $1 billion lawsuit, and of course they had to refile it, but they've given him they've given the migrants $1 billion lawsuit. That's like giving $1 billion away, just because you want to make a political statement about some issue, um, because you don't like um, Texas migrants versus Caribbean migrants. Cuban refugees versus South American refugees. I've never heard of him sending people back to Cuba. I've never heard of him sending people back to some of the uh, Caribbean islands or whatever. I've never heard him doing that. But all of a sudden, he's so offended that there's Hispanic Mexicans in Florida, and he wants them thrown out. And he filed a law saying that if you were waiting on a green card, you couldn't drive through Florida. So I think some Mexican uh, truck drivers, I believe it was, did a protest against DeSantis because it's like it's Spanish. It's like some type of undercover Spanish argument between different types of Spanish people going and stuff like that. So it's it's complicated, um, but hopefully they'll get past it. I think that it was like he might have looked at it like it was a slap in the face that Mrs. Harris, Vice President Harris, called him, because in his mind she's not the president yet and things like that. But who knows? Maybe she was, maybe she was jeering at him because he sent migrants to her house. But the bottom line is he sent migrants to her house. That's ridiculous that he would do something like that. So maybe it was a slap in the face to him, for something like that. Who knows? But the bottom line is let's get past it and let's get our lights back on and let's repair our homes and stuff like that. Um, that's what I just got through doing. I just did a ton of work clearing my grandmother's yard of debris. Um, from rotten trees that have fallen, tree branches that have fallen, and some of the tree branches I cut the tree line back so it wouldn't fall on the house and stuff like that. So let's get past this. But remember, before you start talking about playing with people's lives, he kind of did it first. But um, if you want to read something really good like this, I would ask you all. I would ask you all to read my new book. Okay, let's check it out. Let's check this out. Let's see if y'all get a really good look at it here. The Black Hand 2 on BLURB, and this is by Duane Fletcher, me. Uh, the Black Hand Act 2, The Child in the Storm. Basically, this book um, has a similar vice president versus Florida governor argument. There's a very similar vice president versus Florida governor type argument in this book, and it's about a storm. And this is a really good book. If y'all get a chance to check it out, it's The Black Hand Act 2 by me, Duane Fletcher. Um, it's a really good book. Okay, so if you get a chance to check it out. Now, what else did I want to talk about here? I want to talk about what's going on in Ukraine. Of course, that's a very relevant issue. Let's go. Let's see. Ukraine news. Um, well, basically, the Ukrainian soldiers are on their third month pushing through Russia, and a lot of people would think that it's an invasion. I don't believe that Ukraine is actually invading Russia, but if you want to be ridiculous and say that, that's what a lot of people are saying. But what they are doing behind enemy lines is cutting supply lines, and they are trying to keep the Russians from sending in more troops. Okay, they're trying to keep the Russians from sending in more tanks, more guns. They're trying to keep the Russians out of Ukraine. The best way that they can do that, because they're so close on the border with Russia, is sneak behind enemy lines and destroy the supply lines. So Russia's having trouble resupplying their troops, and it's obviously working. It's the push is obviously working because the Russians have yet to respond significantly. They put up a fight here and there, but there's record numbers of Russian troops being killed or captured, and the thing is that you know, if you want to nip this in the bud before it starts in World War III, before it starts to be World War III, that's where you got to do it at. You know, you got to stop them in Ukraine. I, my personal opinion is that if I was NATO, I would get together and send a force in to push Russia back into Russia. That way, you don't have to worry about him invading Poland. You don't have to worry about him invading Finland. You don't have to worry about him trying to invade Germany. Because like I said before, this is what's this is what a lot of people are making jokes about, because it's a joke to a lot of people because they're over here in America. It's a joke to a lot of people because they're over here in America. But the bottom line is, um, once an occupying force invades, at first it's normal. It's just an occupation. They're just there. But then they come out with rules that basically destroy your lifestyle. Where I'm gonna give you an extreme example. Let's say Adidas won't be making tennis shoes anymore. Adidas end up making boots for the Russians or something like that. So Europeans have their own view of it, but there's a lot of people that are not paying attention to what's going on. But if Mercedes stopped making Mercedes and all of a sudden starts making tanks for the Russians, then they'll take it more seriously. But let's why not just stop it in Ukraine before he even gets there? You know, so but Ukraine is getting it done. With what they have, they're getting it done, and they basically have begun to cut the Russian supply lines from Moscow into Ukraine. So that's the best thing they could do. And there's talk of very ammunition dumps being destroyed, gas refineries that the Russians use to refuel their tanks with being destroyed, stuff like that. So, um, Slava Ukraine, hopefully that they will basically end up, pushing the Russians out completely. And then you don't have to worry about World War III, where they end up in Poland next, or they end up in Finland next, or something like that. So, um, I also wanted to talk about the stock market. Okay, the stock market basically has taken off. There was a lot of talk about the stock market crashing during election times and stuff like that. Um, I think the stock market analysts narrowed it down to the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 was supposed to crash if Trump lost against Biden. So Trump lost against Biden, but the S&P didn't crash. And the analysts or whoever pieced it together to find out, well, what would happen, and they narrowed it down to the S&P 500. So it didn't crash. So I'm hoping that it don't crash. So no matter whoever becomes president, it shouldn't crash like that. Um, but what you guys should do is start to invest, because this is an all-time high for the stock market right now. Even though there's these political arguments going on, this is an all-time high right now for the stock market, where basically there's a lot of American companies doing very, very well that are on the stock market, and you should put some money in it. Put some money in it. Research a company that you like. I'm gonna tell you how I first got interested in the stock market was like what they call fantasy stock market. It's just like fantasy football, but it's the stock market. Okay, so what you do is you download a simulator. You download a stock simulator, and then you learn. The simulator teaches you how to pick different stocks and invest. And once you've satisfied that you know how to invest, then you put money in the real stock market. Okay, so you download. Me personally, I download a simulator, and then I download a stock market news app like Bloomberg or like CNBC, two of the best stock market stations that are out there. Um, and then you know all the news. It's simple. It's very simple to do. And but right now, you should put some money in it. Maybe get in touch with a broker. Get in touch with a broker at your bank and put some money in stock market. Or uh, if you really good at it, you could download some fintech. Download some fintech and basically learn how to invest. Download some fintech, and fintech is like a platform and that your bank operates that lets you invest without having to make an appointment with a broker. Okay, so some of the best ones are like I think Wells Fargo has a new platform, um, which they probably hate because I don't know if y'all know anything about Wells Fargo, but they like for you to talk to a broker and stuff like that. Per and per their old person that they used to own it, like Warren Buffett them. But Wells Fargo has a new platform. Chase Manhattan has a really good platform also. Um, there's other banks out there too that have really good investing platforms and stuff like that. Fidelity has a really good platform. These are people that you make this fintech. It makes it really easy to invest, so you don't have to talk to. You don't have to make an appointment with a broker. I don't know, by the time you make an appointment to talk to a stockbroker, you may your stock tip might not be any good, you know. So maybe you want to download some fintech, but the stock market's doing really well. You should put some money in it. Okay, so Dwayne Johnson has a new movie out. Mm. Dwayne Johnson, I think, has a new movie out. 300. Let's see. Dwayne Johnson 300. Dwayne Johnson has a new 300. Y'all seen it? I thought this was a rumor, But Dwayne, there's a new 300 movie um, coming out. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this series, but in part one, these small group of Roman soldiers, they get together, they fight uh, like Xerxes. I think they beat like 300 guys, beat like 20,000 by themselves. Then in part two, it was I think it was the Greek army they were fighting in part two or something like that. And now there's part. I don't know who they're going to be fighting in part three, but it should be good. Probably should be really good. Um, NBA history: LeBron James and son playing for the Lakers. LeBron James and his son both play for the Lakers now. And this is NBA history. If you get a chance to check out some of the games, it's a legendary moment in NBA history for them to both be out there. And there's like a lot of people, a lot of NBA players, they have a son that went on to play, or they have they have a son or a nephew or a cousin or a brother that plays in the NBA. But LeBron and son are one of the first to be there at the same time playing for the Lakers. And like I said, it's NBA history. If you get a chance to check out some of the games, you know. Also, and I'm gonna bring this up, and I'm gonna wear it. Basically, I want to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars NFL team is not doing too well right now. We were 0-4, 0-4 on the season. Did really well in preseason, 3-0 in preseason. But then when the real season started, Jacksonville Jaguars went 0-4. Okay. So finally, they beat Baltimore. I mean, excuse me, they beat the Colts. Jaguars versus Colts. But finally, they beat the Colts. And you know is that what's funny is that they had been losing by 3 points. They lost to 3 points to Miami. They lost by 3 points to Texas or something like that. They had been losing by 3 points each and every game. And then finally they came back. They came roaring back and they beat the Colts by 3 points. So and some of the other players they're saying that now they're playing the Chicago Bears in London right now. I think the game is tomorrow morning, if I'm not mistaken. But that should be a good game also. And some of the other players were saying that on the internet they were saying that hopefully this could spark a winning streak for them, and maybe it will. You never know because they're playing the Bears now. So uh, that's it. That's all I had to say. Um, and if you guys get a chance to, don't forget, check out my new book. Let's see. Check out my new book. Check out my new book. The Black Hand Act Two, The Child in the Storm. The Black Hand Act Two, The Child in the Storm is a really good book. And remember, it has a similar vice president versus Florida governor type of argument in this book, and they're arguing about a storm and stuff like that. It's a really good book. It's called The Black Hand Act Two: The Child in the Storm by Duane Fletcher on BLURB. Check it out under DuaneFletcher. On BLURB. Okay, so if you get a chance to check it out, and also you can check out the podcast on YouTube under the name Real Duane, RealDuane, Real Duane of Fletcher Community Media, or FCM, Real Duane of FCM. And if you get a chance to check out this book, because like I said, it's a really good, similar vice president versus Florida governor type of argument, and it's actually a really good book. All my books are good as far as I'm concerned. But you know, well, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see this. I got a bunch of different books out. If you get a chance to check it out. Okay, so that's all I had to say today. Um, Everyone stay safe and hope and remember, please pray for us down here in Florida. We just got hit with two hurricanes back to back. Okay. All right. Thank you. And I'm out.